Right. So, still on human evolution, they are saying the diagram below represents one model of the evolution of some hominid, right? Of some hominid. So, this type of a diagram or a model or a tree diagram is called a phylogenetic tree. It's called what? A phylogenetic tree. Why? Because it shows the evolutionary relationship between the ancestors and their descendants. Alright? So you need to have the ability to interpret the phylogenetic diagram. But this root, the roots, in fact, the root here and here and also there, those roots, they represent the ancestors. Okay, they represent the ancestors. And then here, the tip of the lines, as you can see, we've got Homo sapiens. Those are what we call descendants. Okay, so we always move from down to upward. So it's from past till the most recent, right? That is phylogenetic tree. So with phylogenetic tree, let us take a look on the questions that they can ask us. All right. So 3.4.1, identify the type of a diagram. Show. So you need to be able to define again phylogenetic diagram. As I said, that is the evolutionary relationship between the ancestors and their descendant. All right, that's very simple. So it's phylogenetic tree, phylogenetic tree diagram. And then 2.4.2, how many they're saying how many genera are represented in the diagram. How many what genera are represented by the diagram? All right, so I want you to please note that, let me try to show you something so that you can understand. Let's say for argument's sake that we've got a Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. Homo is what we call the genus, right? And then species, or in fact, sapiens is our species, right? Sapiens, that is our species. Now, if we now have Homo naledi, Homo still means genus, and then naledi is species. But if we combine the two, Homo species and Homo naledi, now we're talking about two group of species. Can you see? So it's no longer called Homo and Homo. We no longer call it genus, but we now call it genera. Why? Because genera is the plural form, and then genus is the singular form. I hope you get the difference between the two. Right? So genus is the singular form, and genera is the plural form. So now, as you can see, we've got so many homos. It's Homo sapiens, Homo something, Homo, Homo what. So with that, that is a one. It's one or more, same thing, because it's Homo. So we will count it as a one genus, right? Because it's Homo. And then we've got Australopithecus, which is another genus. So now, if we combine that Homo and Australopithecus, we now have two genera. So in the diagram, we have two genera. Okay? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's two genera represented by the diagram. Okay? And then 3.4.3. Name the species A represented by X on the diagram. So let us see X. Species X says used stone tools. Used stone tools. So which first group of organisms used stone tools? We know that is Homo habilis. Homo habilis. That is the first group of organisms that used habilis. Yes, that used what? That used stone tools. Please don't forget that. Homo habilis. Whatever you pronounce it, okay? But that is Homo habilis. It means species X is Homo habilis. That is the answer for 3.4.3. Homo habilis. So let us try to write it down. For 3.4.2, we said we have two genera. 3.4.3a, that is Homo habilis. Homo habilis. Right. And then B, name the species that shares a common ancestor with Homo erectus. So you will find the answer in your phylogenetic tree. So I want you to do like this. We have Homo erectus. Here is Homo erectus. Its ancestor is species X. So we want the species, right, or rather the organism that shares a common ancestor with Homo erectus. So can you see? Let's do it like this. Species X gave us Homo naledi, or Homo erectus, and also Homo naledi. So it means Homo naledi and also Homo erectus, they share a common ancestor, which is species X, that is Homo habilis. So the correct answer for B is Homo naledi. That is another species that share a common ancestor with Homo erectus. Right. Okay. Then moving to the next question, which is 3.4.4. Which species of the genus Homo is the only one in existence today? Which species of the genus Homo is the only one in existence today? So we've got so many homos here. It's Homo naledi, Homo what, Homo what. But we only want the one that is the only, or in fact, the one that is in existence today. Yes, the one that is in existence today. That is Homo sapiens, modern humans. Okay, Homo sapiens. So it's 3.4.4, right? 3.4.4. That is Homo sapiens. This is us, humans. Homo sapiens. That is the only species in the genus Homo which is in existence even today, right? And then 3.4.5. Name two of evidence that will have been used to support the information in the diagram. Two forms of evidence, right? So we have fossil evidence, we have cultural evidence, we also have genetic evidence, but you can just name two. Okay, so you can say fossil evidence or genetic evidence, or you can say fossil evidence and cultural evidence, or you can say genetic evidence, cultural evidence. Any of the two forms between those three. Right, so those are the evidence that support the diagram, the phylogenetic tree diagram. And then moving to the next question, which says the average cranial capacity of Homo sapiens is 1,500 centimeter cubed compared to 520 centimeter cubed in Australopithecus africanus. I mean, if we think about the anatomical differences between African apes and also humans, we know that humans have large developed brain compared to African apes, right? And then what is the significance of having a larger brain? Having larger brain simply means you have a greater intelligence, right? So they will ask you, explain the significance of the difference in cranial capacity. Remember, from responding to the environment, human nervous system, we know that cranium is the part of the brain that protects the brain, right? So now, if now they're talking about cranial, please always think about the brain. Okay, please always think about maybe the skull. All right. So let's explain the significance of the difference in cranial capacity. For Homo sapiens, we have a cranial capacity of 1,500 centimeter cubed. Because now it's larger than the cranial capacity of Australopithecus africanus, it simply shows that Homo sapiens have a larger brain. So a larger cranial capacity indicates a larger brain, and the larger brain indicates a greater intelligence. That is the significance. Then you are done. Okay, let's explain it again. A larger cranial capacity indicates the greater brain, and the greater brain indicates a greater intelligence. So the larger the cranial capacity, the larger the brain, and the greater the intelligence, and vice versa. So that is the correct answer for 2.4.6. And then 3.4.7, explain how the fossils of Australopithecus africanus species X, which is our Homo habilis and Homo erectus, are used to support what we call the out of Africa hypothesis. Now, grade 12 life science learners, is very important to know how to describe out of Africa hypothesis. That is for 4 marks. But in this case, they are being specific when they are saying the fossils of Australopithecus africanus and also the fossils of Homo habilis and also of Homo erectus are used to support the out of Africa hypothesis. So it's very important again to ensure that you read the full question so that you understand what is required from you. So let's explain the out of Africa hypothesis, but because they are being specific, our focus is on the fossils of Australopithecus africanus and also the fossils of Homo habilis, which is species X, right? And then the fossils of Homo erectus. How are they used to support what we call the out of Africa hypothesis? So let's just write it down. So it's 3.4.7. So we are going to start by saying fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. That is the first point. Fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. So I can't write there. Apologies. Right. That is the first point. Fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. And then the fossils of Homo habilis were found in Africa only. Or are found in Africa, not where, but rather they are. Right. You need to know that. Fossils of Homo habilis are found in Africa only. That is the second point. And then the third point is that the oldest fossils of Homo erectus were found in Africa. So it's very important again to know that we did mention the fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. So please try to include that only. Don't exclude that. And also, the fossils of Homo habilis are found in Africa only. But for the third point, we are now just saying the oldest fossils of Homo erectus were found in Africa. We now exclude only. So you can be penalized for the confusion between that. All right. Then the last point you will just say, indicating that humans originated in Africa and migrated out of Africa. So they migrated to other parts of the world. So that's basically out of Africa hypothesis. Okay, let's repeat it again. First point, the fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. And then the fossils of Homo habilis are found in Africa only. Then the oldest fossils of Homo erectus were found in Africa, indicating that humans originated in Africa and migrated to the other part of the world, or migrated out of Africa. So that is basically out of Africa in this question, because they are being specific when they're saying, explain how the fossils of Australopithecus africanus. So we're going to talk about the fossils. That's why I said fossils of Australopithecus africanus, or fossils of Australopithecus, right? Fossils of Australopithecus were found in Africa only. Then they said species X. Species X, that is Homo habilis. That's why we said. The second point, we're going to say the fossils of Homo habilis are found in Africa only. Then for Homo erectus, we did said oldest fossils of Homo erectus were found in Africa. Then we conclude by saying, indicating that humans originated in Africa and migrated out of Africa. And that is 4 marks.